Alright, this video is going to focus on values and data types. This is chapter 2.1 in Talking Through Code. So let's get started by opening up PyCharm. And we're going to be creating a new project for chapter 2. This new project. I'm going to put it straight into my documents, which is where it defaulted to. So I'm going to do Talking Through Code, chapter 2. And now that I have created this new project, right, we've done this a few times before, we're going to do new Python file, and this is values and data types. So I'm going to go ahead and hide on the left, so it's just my code that I have to worry about. So I'm going to be taking some notes in the code as we go, just to keep track of what we're talking about. So we care about, for this video, values and data types. And a value is just anything. A value is something code can manipulate. So these are numbers, words, which we will learn are called strings. These are expressions, anything like that. And we'll learn in the next video that we can set values equal to variables. So we're talking about values, and values have types, and we care about 3 types for now. So, and these types are called primitive types. So 3 primitive types for now. The first one that we care about are integers, abbreviated to int most of the time. So these are whole numbers. An example might be 3, 5, 89, right? Or some really long number. So an integer is just a whole number. And let me split up these comments so we can do better later. So we've got an integer. Then we have a float. And there's no special abbreviation for float, it just is what it is. And these are real numbers. So these are numbers that have decimal places. So 4.5, 6.0, 3.14159, right? So 6.0 on line 18 may look like it's a whole number, but it's actually a float because of that 0.0 part. That is enough to roll it over to be a float. And the last type that we care about are strings, which are abbreviated to str for our data type. So these are sequences of characters. So these are either single or double quotes. Those are what are surrounding our strings. And the convention for Python is actually to use single quotes, but I'm very used to using double quotes, so that's what I'm going to use here and on the videos. So an example might be hello world. We saw this when we did our very first Python program. It might be an emoji, right? Because a character is just anything that can be on the screen. It can also be like this 17 on line 27. So here we're seeing that it maybe looks like a number, but because of the quotes, it's actually a string. So we have to be careful about those sorts of things. So let's go through and print out the types for some of these. And the way that we get the type is through the type function. We know about functions, right? Print is a function. A function is just a piece of pre-written code that does a specific task. Printing got output to the screen, and now the type is going to tell us the type of the variable. Let's see if I can split right. Yeah. Okay. So we're looking at 2 different copies of the code here. So I can keep going and see all my notes on the right. So I'm actually gonna get rid of those. So we're down here. Okay. So now we want to use this type function. In order to get it to the screen, I'm going to have to print it. right? And I'll show you what it looks like without the print so we can convince ourselves that that is true. So I'm going to do type of 5. So the type function gives us back the type of the variable. But when I run it, nothing gets outputted. I can see that from the console down here. So what do we need to do instead? Let's see if I can get all 3 of these next to each other so we can see them. Come on. Yes, go. Okay, great. So the console is on the far right, our code is in the middle, and our notes are on the left. There we go. Great. All right, so we had type 5, and nothing got printed. But if we do a print type 5, now it prints int. Right? And I'm going to go ahead and label this. So type of 5. And I'm labeling it with a string. Right? I can tell here because of the quotes. So this type of 5 on the left is a string, and then I have this comma that's going to let me print multiple things. What if I want to do type of 4.5? That's a float, which is again what we expected from the notes that we took on the left side. What about type of hello world? So we've got type of hello world there, and we're going to run it. Oh, I forgot to put the type around it. I just redid hello world. Silly. Type of hello world. And it says that it is of class string. So that's great. They were all what we expected. What if we did type of 17? Type of 17 in quotes. So we've got 17 in quotes there, and we're going to run it. And it also says that it is of type string, which is what we had expected again. Right? We had said that because there were quotes around the 17, it was a string, and it turns out that it is. And I'm going to make these a little bit clearer by putting an empty line between them all. All right, so 5 is an integer, 4.5 is a float, hello world, and 17 in quotes are both strings. So there is one other thing that I'm going to look at, and it has to do with strings, but less to do with types. So we can create a string that's multiple lines with triple quotes, just like I use triple quotes to make a comment on the left. So I can do print hello world's celebration emoji. So now when I run this, hello world and the emoji were each on their own line, and that was because I used a triple quote and it allowed me to have a multi-line string. So that is something to keep in mind as you are going forward. So let me minimize this, and we can look at the code, all of the code real quick. So we had done the type for 5, the type for 4.5, the type for hello world, the type for 17 in quotes, and then we had done this triple quote for, so quotes for multi-line strings. Great. So one last thing that we need to be concerned about is putting together numbers that make sense. If I do a print, and then I do print 1400, we might think that's going to print 14,000. It doesn't. It prints 14 and then it prints 0. And that's because it views the comma as a separator between arguments. Just like how we had a comma here to separate this string from the type, this comma here told the print statement that it was a 14 and then a 0 for its two things. So it printed 14 and then a 0. So we want to be really careful that whenever we are putting together numbers, we don't include these commas within them. Okay, so that's it, right? I'm going to leave this up for another second in case you wanted to take a screenshot or something of this page. So that's the end of this video, and the next video will be about variables and variable names. So that's chapters 2.2 through 2.3.